Welcome to episode 13, PR tools every PR pro uses or at least knows about, and you should too.
Welcome to the PR Playbook Podcast with Ranjini Joshua, the only podcast that teaches you how to strategically navigate the world of public relations and social media and grow a powerful brand.
Hello, and welcome to episode 13. Today's going to be full of insider tips, so I hope you have your pen and paper handy. And if you don't, no biggie, we'll have all these resources listed in the show notes as well. And I'm going to be giving away a free e-releases pro distribution. All you need to do is sign up through the PR Playbook podcast page to enter on thesilvertelegram.com/the PR Playbook podcast. I'm sure you're chomping at the bit for tools of the trade, so let's get started. All jokes aside, it takes years to compile the resources that you need to execute PR at a top level. Experience and time can't really be faked. However, you can start using all the tools of the trade now so that in a few years' time, you may become a pro and way more insightful about the PR process. I've segmented these into four main categories: media relations, distribution, social media, and measurement. Category one, and of course, the most important category in my world, is media relations. These days, media information is pretty easily searchable via Google, but if you are looking for an affordable tool, you may want to tap into our first tool, which is Muckrack. For around $300 a month, you'll get email access to journalists and their latest articles through their Twitter feed. So the way Muckrack works is it scans the bios of verified journalists on Twitter and pulls the most relevant articles and information about that journalist. And then it also provides you an email. You could create lists within Muckrack, download the list. There are a lot of different things you can do. They just announced and launched their podcast search, so you're able to search for podcasts as well. Cision is the second tool. It's a little bit more well-known among larger brands. However, it is often how PR people get access to email, phone, and other details about reporters. I'm going to be referring to Cision a few times within this podcast. In addition, similar to something like MailChimp, Cision allows you to build lists and then send batch emails to a list of reporters. So if you have a press release, you can actually distribute it to a larger list of people through Cision's mail platform. You may be able to send out press releases or pitches any way you want. You can schedule them in advance. So there's a lot of different really kind of cool functionality about Cision that you can leverage. However, like most industry databases, it's not always up to date. So I would just be careful and double check that the people that are generated from your search are really the relevant people for your list. In addition, Cision is one of the more expensive tools that we use. Annual subscription to Cision could range you probably anywhere from like $12,000 to $15,000 for the basic media distribution use. And then there's a lot of add-ons and a lot of other cool features of Cision that really bump up the pricing for an annual rate. So a lot of people don't opt in for this. Obviously, as a PR agency, we have to have access. So we have access to Cision and Muckrack. Last but not least, if you're strapped for cash and you're really like a startup or you're bootstrapped, you might want to just use the masthead. So a masthead is obviously about the media outlet. Basically, what we typically do when we're looking for quality over quantity is we put down our top 10 media targets, and then we visit those websites and glean and basically extract the email information of the editor from the About Us section, which is technically the masthead. So you can easily do that. Information for media is a lot more readily available than it used to be. Sometimes if you can't find it on the masthead, you might be able to find it in their Twitter profile. So you can always check their Twitter profile. Last but not least, another media relations source is Help a Reporter Out, or HARO. And this is PR industry's kind of darling. But since Cision purchased it a few years ago, the secret's a little bit out and more people know about it. Sign up for HARO, it's free. So go to helpareporterout, I think .net or .com, and you'll receive daily updates on reporters that are looking for sources for upcoming articles. You can subscribe to different vertical categories that are relevant to your business. So I know there's business, there's education, there's healthcare, there's high tech, and you can basically subscribe to those. I would recommend subscribing to the 3-a-day updates, which is a lot of emails. It sends you 3 emails a day for each category, or if you sign up for the master haro, it'll send you all of the haros 3 times a day. But the reason I would sign up for this is because haros are time sensitive. So when you want to submit something, the reporters basically take first come, first serve pitches. So you want to respond to it as quickly as you can. So if you see a haro pop up in your email, take a look, see if anything's relevant, and submit based on the details that are requested in the query. This takes us to the next category, distribution. There are several PR distribution channels. In fact, you can leverage Cision to distribute your press release, like I mentioned before, to the list that you create within the platform. However, most people rely on press release distribution channels. The most popular are PR Newswire, Business Wire, and a more recent contender, Globe's Newswire. Also keep in mind, if you're in a specific industry, you may want to search a specific channel for press releases for that industry. So, for example, I worked in the video games industry for quite a while. They have something called Games Press that is a standard channel for press release distribution and heavily relied upon. And people will check the Games Press Newswire in the morning to see what games news has come out. At the Silver Telegram, we use a popular wholesaler of press releases called e-releases, and they basically resell the online distribution of PR Newswire at a more affordable price, which ranges from $300 to $500 than typical Newswire distribution, which is roughly $800 to $1,000. And keep in mind the area, the geographic regions, the topics, all those things are going to play a factor in how much your distribution costs, as well as the word count. So be mindful of your word count when you're writing press releases. And typical rule of thumb when you're writing press releases is keep it concise as possible. The next category is social media. There's no limit to social media tools. I'm sure there's way more than I know about, but the ones that we most commonly use are scheduling tools like Buffer and Hootsuite. They have both individual and enterprise size subscriptions so that you can tap into those and not totally break the bank. And it really depends on how many channels you're managing and how much you're scheduling. To measure hashtag traction or specific social handles or channels, we use social mentions. So you can actually look up hashtags and see how many times they're mentioned. You can look up a brand name, you can look up like a Twitter URL and get a full kind of digest of the mentions. If you're wondering how social media posts look so good on some channels, there's some online graphic tools like Canva, which is my personal favorite, and PicMonkey, among others, that can instantly make your posts look professional. They already have the size requirements for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook covers, LinkedIn covers, all that kind of stuff. So they have the dimensions of everything in there, and they have all these great tools. They have stock footage, great different fonts that you can use to make your posts look as professional as possible. The next category is measurement. Last but not least, measurement tools are pretty challenging in this industry of PR. But if you want to track some traffic of websites, blogs, magazines, you can leverage Cision, which also, if you look up the outlets, which you're able to do, you can get their print circulation and unique monthly visitors for the most part. And they can give you kind of a full report and range on the outlet and what that looks like. Another site that allows you to access analytics and is bookmarked on my browser is called SimilarWeb. And the numbers are a little bit underreported, but it's better to be safe than sorry. They give you website traffic, unique monthly visitors. Also, if you log in through Gmail, they'll give you demographics. So there's a lot of really cool information you can get for these particular websites that you can make a decision on whether you want to do this certain interview or if how much your placement was worth. Let's say you get an article in USA Today, for example, you can see the potential reach of the article, the demographics of the article, and kind of quantify it that way. Last but not least, I say that a lot, social media. Of course, you're playing the influencer game. You can look directly at the audience by looking at the number of followers of the influencers and what they have on their channels. So, their Instagram followers, Facebook followers, Twitter followers, YouTube followers. Something to note though, is while some influencers might have a tremendous presence on one channel, it doesn't necessarily translate to the other channels. So somebody who has a really intense Instagram following, maybe like 50,000 people, may not have such a great YouTube following. So the rule here is to check out their main area of focus and focus on those channels. And even better rule would be figuring out where you want to be placed. Do you want to be on their Instagram? Do you want to be on their YouTube? Do you want to be on Facebook? So figure out where you want to be and if it's worth it based on their followers on that specific channel. Because like I said, it does not always translate. We found Instagram followers with not great website followings. So it's just something to kind of factor in when you're searching. And a lot of this has to do with manual search. However, social media tool that kind of gives you that, there's a new company. They're out of Denmark. They're called Influ Scouts. And if you tap into their database, they can give you engagement demographics. They can collate the following, and then you can give them search criteria, and they can pull together a list of influencers for you that may be your target audience. So I think Influ Scouts is also a great resource, and it's actually brand new. There are boatloads of tools out there. However, these are the ones that we typically use on a daily basis. So every day I'm using the ones that I've listed today. I hope this short and sweet podcast helps you with some of your PR program tracking, planning, and measurement. If you have any questions you want to add to this list, comments, or suggestions for podcast topics, please submit them at podcast@thesilvertelegram.com. That's all for now. Get to sleuthing, be well, and see you next time.